The Zone is the home of boxing, with over 150 live fights a year.
It's over! There's no way back from this, surely!
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
How do you like it? How do you like it?
That is unbelievable.
These guys will be legends in their own country, but also in the international basketball world forever.
That is what sport means. That is what the EuroLeague trophy means. Are you not entertained? I'm not supposed to be cheering, but this is X Series. I can do whatever I want.
Everything is difficult in this life, so still you need to be on it.
It all comes down to tonight. Don't miss the biggest night in MMA. PFL is more than a fight.
Catching up on any NFL game is easier than ever before.
Looking to the end zone for the win!
Oh my gosh, one of the great games you'll ever see.
The competition is back, and the UEFA Women's Champions League looks set to be bigger and better than ever before.
It's their time, a night to remember.
The following program is recommended for those 16 and over, as it contains sporting violence, possible bad language, and flashing imagery.
Hello and welcome to a brand new edition of Ariel and Ade right here on the undisputed global home of boxing, DAZN. That's the zone, baby. Not just the undisputed global home of boxing, but for the next month, without a doubt, the undisputed global home of football or soccer, depending on where you reside, on what you like. There's a lot going on right here on DAZN, and usually right here and now, I'll say hello to my good friend, my co-pilot, my co-host, if you will, my partner in crime, Ariel Oladipo, all the way in London. But, well, I do have some bad news. Perhaps, dare I say, some breaking news. Yeah, that was the shot. That's the shot right there. He's been seeing other people. He's been hobnobbing. He's been rubbing shoulders with the elite, the super elite. In case you missed it, he's been presenting the Club World Cup right here on DAZN. And there I am, flipping through, tuned in on Saturday, Inter Miami. Oh my gosh, what a big deal. And there's my friend Ade with Sir David Beckham? Sir David Beckham? And yes, I stress sir because he may have said that word sir like at least 48 times in the interview. In case you missed it, take a look.
We have become five here. Two very important people. Look at Sir David Beckham. Sir David Beckham as well now. We'll come to you in a second. How does it feel now? You've been knighted. Everyone back home excited about you, Sir David Beckham.
Was that 3 times?
Yet?
No, definitely haven't. But it's been an emotional week, I must admit, for me and for my family. Yeah, it's obviously very special. It's a huge honour, but one that has been shared with myself and my family. So, yeah, it's been an emotional week.
Jorge, when you took over this club, I guess this was the dream, to see Inter Miami in settings like this. With
all right, well, that's enough of that. There he is. He probably calls him Sir 48 or 40. I guess at that point it's 45 more times. But it's great stuff. I'm delighted for Ade. I know how much he loves football. And I do want to let you know he is going to join us. In fact, we are trying. There's a match that's wrapping up right now involving River Plate, the pride of Argentina. I believe they're going to win 3-1 last I checked. There's a match that's wrapping up right now, and we're going to try to do a thing where this little outfit, this show, joins his show, and now I'm being told it's not happening. It's not happening. We tried. I'm going to call him right now, and I'm going to give him crap for that. It's not happening. We tried to do it. We tried our best, but it's not happening, and quite frankly, it was a big headache to try to make it happen, and so probably for the best. He will join us midway through the show to talk about everything going on in the world of boxing. In about 5 minutes' time, one of the top promoters in the game, Dmitry Salita, is going to join us. We'll talk about Clarissa Shields' return to Detroit in July 26th to be exact. We'll talk about her impending free agency. We'll talk about a whole host of things with Salita, so stay tuned for that. Speaking of free agency, that's a big topic right now in the sport, especially coming off what we saw Saturday night at the theater right next door to Madison Square Garden. Because as you guys know, it was Richardson Hitchens against George Kambosos, and there was a great build-up to this fight. In the end, it was, I think, as expected, Hitchens' time to shine. You see him drop Kambosos here in the 8th. He had landed some big shots up until this point, and Kambosos, who has had, a solid career, a great career, and no doubt sells fights just as good as everyone. I mean, to take shots like that from a guy like Richardson Hitchens, who is as young and talented and really coming into his own now, claiming to be the future face of American boxing, and Lord knows it is up for grabs right now. It's a tough task. It's a tough task, especially coming all the way over from Australia to New York and fighting essentially in Hitchens's hometown. And so afterwards, Hitchens gets on the microphone and proclaims that, hey, I'm about to head into free agency, and I want a guy named Devin Haney next. Here's what he had to say.
I'm going into free agency now, so there's a lot of options, and I want the big fights. After my last fight, I called Teofimo out right away. Obviously he got other plans, so I don't know what's next, but I'm looking here at the camera. Devin Haney, you, let's fight. Devin Haney next. Devin Haney and Bill Haney. New York, stand up, baby. We here, baby.
That's an incredible post-fight interview. I loved everything about it. Here's Devin moments after saying we could get it at 147 pounds. Now, Teofimo Lopez was in the ring as well, as you saw. He seems to be in the mix. But the impression that I got in the aftermath of all of this is that Eddie Hearn didn't really like the fact that Hitchens used that moment to proclaim that he's about to head into free agency. He was, I would say, pretty perturbed, if you will. Here's Eddie talking to IFL TV backstage after the fight about that post-fight interview.
I did feel disrespected because it's not him. It's just dogs around him that put things like, there is no loyalty in boxing. You've got to look after yourself. But when someone has come in, when you were on the floor, and, I remember when I first met Richardson Hitchens, the door of his car was falling off. And to be honest, I've spent a lot of money and invested in a young man that I really respect and admire. And I've boxed him at Madison Square Garden. I've headlined him in Orlando when we really didn't sell any tickets and we lost a lot of money. I kept with it. I headlined him in Las Vegas, where again we didn't sell many tickets and we lost money. Then I paid for him to get the opportunity to fight Liam Paro for the world title. Then I paid up for a big opponent in George Kambosos, paid up for the big homecoming in New York. But Richardson is a very good kid. He's just got some snakes around him. And those snakes will make you feel like they're your guy. But the reality is they're bloodsuckers who actually, certain individuals, take a bigger percentage or the same percentage as the promoter that's bankrolling you and paying for your entire path in the sport and making the investment. Managers have zero risk, right? They just let the promoter do all the work, they negotiate the deal, and by the way, a good manager is good for your career. But they just let the promoter do all the work, make the investment, risk their money, and then after the fight go, thank you very much, pay me for a couple of phone calls. right? And I just understand the game. So it doesn't infuriate me. I just go, you're a dog, you'll get what's fucking coming to you. That's all. And, you know, that's boxing.
Fascinating stuff there from Eddie Hearn, and I'm very curious to see how this all plays out. He's been there, done that. He has probably seen this before 1 or 2 times, I would say, but I don't know if he was expecting it to happen in that moment. Perhaps he was referring to some guys who are surrounding Hitchens, and there's a fascinating dynamic between, as he said, the managers and the promoters. Great point by him. The managers don't have to put up the money. The promoters do. And so let's see how this all plays out. I have a feeling that our first guest today knows a thing or two about this dynamic. He is one of the top promoters in the game. He is the president of Salita Promotions. He has a big show coming up on DAZN, July 26th. Just had a big show at the Boxing Hall of Fame. He's the pride of, dare I say, Brooklyn, New York, and Detroit, Michigan these days. He's the one and only Dmitry Salita. He's kind enough to join us right here now on the program. Dmitry, how are you, my friend? It's good to have you on.
I'm great to be back. I love your introductions. Always hypes me up.
Yes. It's not quite Michael Buffer, a few levels below, but I try my best. You know, I'm sure you heard some of that from Eddie, and I'm sure you can relate to some of that as well, right?
Yes. No, what Eddie's saying is correct in many ways, and I understand where he's coming from for sure.
And so, you know, when I was, go ahead.
No, I know Hitchens for many years. I actually used to box with him. Very talented fighter, and then just as a boxing fan, as someone to see him come up, through Star City Boxing Club and through Cops and Kids in Flatbush, it's putting politics aside, it's great to see what he's doing and how he's developed as a fighter and being a champion. Really incredible.
By the way, as an aside, did you think that he would turn out to be as good as he is now?
I did. I boxed with him when he was still an amateur and I was a professional, and I was a little bit heavier than him and obviously older. And I remember making a mental note to myself, this kid is really, really good. Another guy that I boxed that was that good was Danny Jacobs, who also grew up.
Yep.
Danny grew up in Star City Boxing Club altogether, so I used to box him when he was a kid. Yes, Hitchens is very talented, and looks like he's really coming close to his prime and really getting into his groove. And he really looked, I think, the best he's ever looked versus Kambosos. So a lot of exciting fights to be made at junior welterweight.
He has said that he thinks he can become the future face of American boxing. That title, I would say right now, is very much up for grabs. Who do you think is the face of American boxing?
That title is up for grabs in many different ways, and kind of really every facet of the industry. Who is the face of American boxing? Well, Terence Crawford, I believe, is the face of American boxing, and Clarissa Shields. Those are two fighters that are that carry the badge of representing the United States of America as professionals and as amateurs. And obviously Clarissa, at a much higher level as an amateur.
So speaking of Clarissa Shields, she was in my studio just a couple of weeks ago talking about her upcoming fight. And it sort of reminded me to a degree, a little bit different, but to a degree to this Hitchens situation, because she said to me that she is going to head into free agency as well after this fight. Could I just ask, how did you feel about her saying that beforehand?
We have a very open and honest relationship, and I'm very grateful for all the work that we've done for Clarissa up to this point. And what will be will be. We have a great fight. We had a great press conference yesterday at Little Caesars Arena with Lonnie Daniels. Clarissa Shields is making the first ever defense of the undisputed heavyweight world title. She's a 4-division undisputed world champion. We started working together in 2017. I believe this is going to be one of the biggest events in terms of attention, in terms of attendance. I believe it's going to be sold out at Little Caesars Arena, which is a 19,000 plus seat building. So I'm very happy with what we've done. I'm very happy with where we're at. In a couple of minutes, I'm going to the Tigers game with Clarissa. She's going to throw out the first pitch, and I'm very happy about our relationship. So I believe that all is good.
I'm assuming, perhaps a silly question, but I'm assuming you would like to remain in business with her post this fight.
100%. I mean, I believe that we've done a great job together, and she's accomplished many firsts, broken many glass ceilings. Women's boxing, to a large extent, is where it is today because of Clarissa's success, because of her skills, and because of her personality, because she's unapologetic about where she feels that she belongs. And she's really beaten and has done anything inside the ring that could possibly be done. Things that no man or woman have ever done as a pro and as an amateur. And I'm very grateful for the path that we've kind of walked together. And I look forward towards the future. And I feel very confident that all will be good.
Is there any chance that you secure a long-term deal with her before the fight?
I don't I don't negotiate on social media, and I don't talk about my business that way on social media. So certainly Clarissa is an American superstar, and it's really incredible that a fighter can command such attention and has really gained so much traction. She's the first woman ever in the history of United States television to be the main event on Premium Cable Network, which was on Showtime in only her second professional fight. So won her first world title in her fourth professional fight, had the biggest women's fight of all time against Christina Hammer up to that point, winning the undisputed middleweight world title, then fought Savannah Marshall in England, one of the most watched women's sporting events ever on Sky. So I'm very happy with the work that we've done together, and again, very happy about the relationship. And I believe that I'm okay with Clarissa being at the stage of her career, not doing a long-term deal. I think that she's in a position where she can kind of figure out what makes sense. And again, we always had a very open and honest relationship, and I really feel good about it. So it's all good.
Could I ask, just a couple of weeks before your event?
Sure.
Here in New York, Madison Square Garden, it will be that MVP card. The all-women's card. Savannah Marshall is on it as well. Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano 3. Very clearly MVP, most valuable promotions, going all in on women's boxing. How do you feel about what they're doing? And in addition to that, trying to sign up all the biggest names right now who are fighting all around the world?
Great question. So I believe we have some of the best women fighters in the world. Ashton Lazada was the opening TV fight in the Hall of Fame weekend last week. She's absolutely incredible. Puerto Rico's first ever female Olympian. She won by first round knockout in less than 30 seconds against a very credible and good fighter. So we have Franchon Cruz, who's a super middleweight world champion. Samantha Worthington, a fighter that I have together with Clarissa, is fighting for her first title, WBA interim title, which is the same title that's held by Taylor and Serrano. And we have many, many more fighters. And I obviously will be open to doing, 5 versus 5, 7 versus 7, whatever it is. I believe that I think competition is always good for boxing. Options are good for boxing. I think that what Jake Paul is doing and the megaphone that he's using through his celebrity to bring a light onto boxing is great. To bring a light onto women's boxing is great as well. He's signing all the fighters that are already established, and he's making some big fights with Serrano and Taylor being a great example. But he's relatively new in the business as a fighter and as a boxing person. And has he developed champions? Has he developed contenders, male or female? Not yet. So that's a very important part of the sport. It still remains to be seen. Not saying that he can or he can't. He just hasn't done it so far. So that's just something to take into consideration. He's starting at a very high level, and because of who he is, he's using it to grow his business, and he's doing a great job. So it's good. It's all good. We need different personalities and players in the sport for boxing and for women's boxing to gain the traction that it needs to gain. There needs to be tension. There needs to be competition.
For women's boxing and men's boxing, but we have never, at least not in the last couple of decades, seen this much cooperation between the promoters, right? And I think a lot of that started because of Turki Al-Sheikh in Saudi Arabia trying to bring everyone together. Did you ever think we'd see this? And is it still, I feel like a year ago it was very harmonious and everyone was loving it. Do you still feel that? Or, as you know, in boxing, like everything, all that glitters is not gold. Will we get back to a period in the not too distant future where everyone hates each other again?
That's a great question, and only time will tell. I do believe what Turkey Al-Sheikh is doing is fantastic for boxing, making big fights, making promoters work together. And it came at a time that was so important for the growth of the sport. When HBO and Showtime were out of the game, now DAZN is a leading platform for the sport of boxing. And he came on board to make these big fights and excite the fans. And, we have Subriel Matias fighting July 12th in New York City at a very unusual Arthur Ashe tennis stadium in Brooklyn.
Yes.
It's an event at Times Square. It's really incredible. So, as a boxing fan, which I always look at fights and at events like a boxing fan because it comes from a pure place. I love it, and I think it's great. And I believe that, it's okay to have competition, to have different personalities, as long as you can put those things aside to make the biggest and the best fights. And we need that for boxing, for boxing fans, and for the boxers we represent, because boxers' careers are finite, and we need to do our best to kind of go outside of our universe to make the competitive matchups that the fans enjoy, that they connect to. So I believe that that's very important, and it's great to see. I want to go back to something that you said.
Sure.
Boxing is, a lot of people, make the business of boxing seem very complicated, but it on some level it isn't. And it's difficult to build a fighter to become a star. It's difficult to match a fighter and to progress them. That takes knowledge and science, really, boxing science, the sweet science, to make sure that they progress. And there have been, some people in the business that have been absolutely exceptional at it. But then when you get to a certain level, like a championship level, to the promoters and to the fighters, the money that's out there is what it is. So it's maybe someone has a sponsor that can make a couple of more bucks, but the gate is what it is. The TV network pays what it pays. So it's pretty transparent and pretty consistent. And that's a good thing. So what I go back to say is that, on Clarissa, we've done a great job with Clarissa and some of the other fighters that we promote. So, I believe that I feel very confident about it, because there's nothing out there that's like, on the other side of the world that can be made, so to say.
Another question about the ever-evolving landscape. As you know, TKO getting involved, and they talked very early on about, hey, we want our own belt. We want to get rid of the three letters, the WBCs, the IBF. We want to do it as we have done with the UFC. It's a UFC promotional title. We don't adhere to other people's rules. Perhaps we'll get rid of the Muhammad Ali Act. This has been talked about. How do you feel about those sweeping changes, radical changes?
That's very interesting, and that's we're gonna have to take only time will tell. But changing the structure of weight classes, changing the rounds, could bring major change to the sport. We just have to wait and see. I do believe that when there's competition, when there's different players, as long as boxing is not a monopoly, it's a good thing. It's a good thing for the fighters, and it's a good thing for the sport. But with that being said, it's very important. It has to be organized. And one of the things that we've seen in boxing over the years, and why it has suffered in a way, is because it's not organized, and folks stay in their own universe to make the fights within their universe, and it's like, it's a fractured environment, and the boxing fans don't get what they want, and the fighters don't get the opportunities that they deserve, and sometimes the ranking organizations, get blamed for that. So and with that being said, there's a lot of opportunity, but I do believe that it's a very nuanced world, and it's a changing world, and the boxing universe of today is really interesting and exciting in many ways, because I believe there's a lot of opportunities, but also there's also a lot of unknowns.
Well put. Well said. I remember we had you in our studio about maybe a year and a half or so ago, and you were sort of describing yourself as the little engine that could in the boxing game, because you didn't have that long-term TV deal, and maybe not the the budget as some of the other big promoters have. But right now you have this long-term deal with DAZN, and it seems like you've gained some momentum. You had the Hall of Fame show a couple of weeks ago. You've got this big show coming up at a big venue, the home of the Detroit Pistons, next month. Do you still feel like the little engine that could in the boxing game, or are you starting to feel like one of the big dogs now?
Well, you always got to feel like the little engine that could, but and that gives me the drive and the ambition to be the best that I could be. I love the sport of boxing, and I love what I do. And sometimes, even when there's challenges and it's frustrating, and as you know, I'm sure that on your show you've heard frustrations of every kind. So yes, I definitely feel that I'm fighting upstream, and I believe that I have a great track record of signing fighters early on and developing them from the beginning to championship level. That's a very unique skill that I'm very grateful for, and to be able to promote them and give them the best opportunities. With consistency now, we'll be able to sign new talent as we have over the last 6 months. There's a lot of talks of an American heavyweight. One guy you should keep your eye on is Bryce Taylor, an undefeated heavyweight from Brooklyn, New York, who's 8-0 and scored four straight knockouts. He fought on the Hall of Fame weekend show on the undercard before the televised bout. He's going to fight on Clarissa's show July 26th. I'm very excited about boxing always, and very grateful for the growth that we've had. I believe that we have one of the best business teams in the sport. We're very hungry. We're very driven. I love boxing, and I live in the sport. So really, what are we supposed to do? What's our mission? Our mission is to understand the fighters and to provide to them the biggest and the best opportunities, to tell their stories and to make the fans connect to the sport. So as someone who grew up in Star City Boxing Club in Brooklyn, getting inspired by watching fights on HBO and Showtime, really living in the sport, and then transitioning, to the business side of it, and really starting from the club level show and gradually climbing up the ranks, so to say. I'm very grateful for those experiences, and I believe that that boxing fans have seen what we give back, and will see even more.
By the way, speaking of heavyweights and speaking of the Hall of Fame, we were actually having this debate yesterday, and I'd love to get your thoughts. I spoke to Deontay Wilder yesterday. He's returning next week. And I said, whenever his career is done, he's a Hall of Famer. And then someone on the team was like, tail end of his career, not a Hall of Famer. Is Deontay Wilder, in Dmitry Salita's opinion, a Hall of Famer or not?
Definitely. Deontay Wilder is definitely a Hall of Famer.
Okay.
For sure.
All right. I was surprised.
Who said he's not a Hall of Famer?
I don't want to call him out. It's just someone on my team in the back there. I don't want to call him out.
Good.
Yeah. But I was like, what? No.
For sure.
For what he did. Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
No, Deontay Wilder is a great fighter. He's kind of like Ray Mercer, a guy that didn't have a lot of amateur fights, but had a lot of power. And Deontay Wilder won the bronze at the Olympics. I believe Ray Mercer won a gold medal, actually, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of similarities there in terms of boxing trajectory. A lot of times we judge fighters by the tail end of their careers.
Yeah,
and I don't know if that's really fair.
Agreed.
Deontay Wilder is definitely in the Hall of Fame.
Claressa Shields also going to be a surefire Hall of Fame, one of the greatest of all time. If you could book the rest of the year for her, let's just assume you guys are working together. Okay, she gets by Lanny Daniels on the 26th of July. Who's the next one? Because I feel like there's a couple of big ones just sort of floating in the wings. She doesn't want to go back to the UK to fight Savannah Marshall. She has made that very clear. Where's the big fight? Because that's the one that everyone's asking for now with Claressa. You're so good, but we want to see you in a big mega fight again.
Well, tell me, you as a boxing guy, what do you think? What are the big fights for Claressa? Take into consideration the way that she's at now.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's no one even remotely close to her at heavyweight. Like, not even close, right? In terms of star power, in terms of talent. I feel like the rematch against Savannah is the biggest fight.
I agree with you. And we've tried to make the rematch before announcing this fight. We've spoken with Savannah at length, made her offers for career high paydays.
But
what's the issue?
There's only one way to say yes, and there's a million ways to say no.
What's the issue?
So, I mean, I'm not sure what the issue is. I mean, we've tried to take different approaches to the deal. Whether if it was the next fight or give a fight in between or 2 fights in between, whatever, nothing got the deal done. So, and then she signed with MVP. And Savannah is a very good fighter. Those that haven't watched should check out the movie The Fire Inside. She's obviously Clarissa's natural rival.
Oh, yeah.
And if that rematch can happen, it'll be fantastic for the sport of boxing. But Clarissa will draw fans and has other significant matchups, in front of her. One of them is Franchon Cruz, someone who she made a pro debut against, who just defended her title on the Hall of Fame Weekend show.
What about Shadeja Green? How close was she to fighting Shadeja Green on that MVP card?
Shadeja Green, not so close.
Not so close. Okay. She was a little upset.
Clarissa was.
Clarissa was upset.
She let you. She says it like it is.
Yes.
So you know what it. so you know what it is already. Yes. But if Shadeja Green beats Savannah Marshall, maybe that's a fight to be made in the future for sure. Look Clarissa's resume. It's really second to none. Like there's different fighters that call out Clarissa's name from 130 pounds. That's just that's clickbait because it's unrealistic. Clarissa has never, ever, ever said no to a fight. In fact, when I went to visit Clarissa at Burston Fieldhouse before I signed her, said, Dmitry, I signed with you, promise you're going to make the biggest and the best fights. And literally every one of her fights has been historic. Again, she fought for a first world title against Nikki Adler, who was 17-0 when she was only 3-0 going into her 4th fight. So Clarissa's resume is incredible, and she doesn't have to say yes. She says yes to the biggest and the baddest fights and the best fights. So it's opponents on the other side of the ring. And in this particular case, you're talking about Savannah Marshall.
2 more questions, and again, thank you for the time. I know you have to get to the baseball game. Could I just ask, you and Big Baby Miller, are you officially parting ways? That's been a saga that has played out for quite some time. Where are we at with him?
It is unfortunately a saga that's played out for a long time. It's an ongoing situation.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that.
Fair enough. I respect that. Give us the lineup for the next month or so. We know that you got the massive one, July 26th. You mentioned Matthias on the ring card. What does Salita Promotions have coming up?
So, we focused on places that have produced some of the greatest fighters in the sport of boxing. One of them last year was Detroit and the state of Michigan. And we also did several events in Puerto Rico before doing an event with Subriel Matias. We did an event there in October, and we're looking to come back late summer, early fall to continue that plan of finding the next Puerto Rican superstar. Ashton Lozada, I believe, has the skills to pay the bills, man. She's incredible. And her fight was less than 30 seconds. So folks should go on the DAZN social media, Instagram page, or I'm sure it's on the YouTube, on our Instagram, and just see how sensational she is. She's really a force to be reckoned with at 122 pounds. She's a Puerto Rican fighter that we discovered as a result of doing business there. And I believe that, you go to Puerto Rico. Have you been to a fight in
yes.
San Juan?
Yes. So it was incredible.
So you get into a cab and you just start talking boxing.
Yes.
Or you go to a store and you start talking boxing, and everybody knows about every fighter, about what's going on. And it's really incredible. So similar to England, by the way. In England, people love boxing as well. Per capita, Puerto Rico has produced more world champions than ever before. And I believe the next Miguel Cotto and Felix Trinidad is
Amanda Serrano.
And Amanda Serrano. Amanda Serrano is a very good fighter for sure.
Yes.
And she's going to have a great fight with Katie Taylor. I look forward to it. It's going to be a great event. One more thing to say.
Yes.
Before you let me go. Rick Ross, the boss, is walking out Clarissa Shields.
Wow.
July 26th at Little Caesars Arena. So it's going to be pretty incredible. I obviously listened to him, had my morning jogs with him, and as it's really incredible. It's going to be such an electric atmosphere. And this is what I say to people, what I said yesterday at the press conference.
every one of Clarissa's fights is historic. She's the Muhammad Ali, the generational athlete of this generation. So if you can make it to the fight, save the ticket because there's going to be a collector's items. And if you can't, make sure you tune into the zone to watch the GOAT put it on.
I look forward to that.
The undisputed heavyweight world title for the first time ever. So, they say the man that beat the man that beat the man that beat the man. Now it's going to be with a woman.
Well, first things first, I want to see her first pitch because we've had some dicey ones in the fight game recently. The first pitches are not easy. There was a WWE wrestler a couple of days ago at the Mets game that went all the way to the left. I don't know what was going on over there. So let's see what kind of arm she has. That's later on today at Tiger Stadium, Comerica Park.
Correct. And, and from what I understand, the Tigers is one of the best teams in baseball.
Yes. So there's a lot of pressure, a lot of eyeballs on her.
A lot of pressure.
She's no stranger to all of that. Looking forward to it. Dmitry, always great to catch up with you. Congrats on all the success, the deal with DAZN. Looking forward to the 26th of July, Clarissa headlining at Little Caesars.
Thank you so much. I'll see you soon.
There he is, the great Dmitry Salita, the president of Salita Promotions. They once told me that the Little Caesars Arena is known as the Big Breadstick because of the breadsticks at the pizza, Little Caesars. I've never actually had Little Caesars, but I hear it's good. It's a phenomenal arena, home of the Detroit Pistons. Unfortunately, their season ended a little earlier than a lot of them in Detroit wanted due to the New York Knicks. That's a different show. We could talk about that later, but great stuff from Dmitry. And yes, he is right. Clarissa, no matter who she's fighting, must see TV anytime she fights. It's always a big deal. And she is one of the greatest of all time. I think we all just want to see her in big-time fights against big-time opponents. And the biggest one out there is Savannah. And if it ain't Savannah, maybe it is Shadeja Green, if, in fact, she could get by Savannah on the 11th of July. I am told, as I'm like, I don't know if you guys noticed, I'm like sort of bending over here because my back is hurting so much from carrying this show, which has 2 names on it. But I'm told superstar, A-list, football presenter Ariel Oladipo has carved out some time for us little people on his own show, and there he is. Without further ado,
One second.
Did River Plot get it done?
One second. So your back's hurting for carrying the show. What about carrying the broadcast? What about carrying the broadcast?
What broadcast?
I do the football, then the boxing, then the football.
Yeah.
Then the boxing.
You're doing the intros and the outros. What about the glaze? What about the glaze? We showed it at the top of the show. We counted 48 sirs to David Beckham. We played that clip. We don't have to do it again. The glazing was unbelievable. What was going on there? Were you just losing your mind standing next to Sir David?
I was losing my mind because he's from East London, like my neck of the woods. I'm from East London. I was like, oh my God. He's there, Sir David Beckham. And what it doesn't show. Ariel, you've done these things, court side, pitch side, whatever side. Yeah. It's crazy. It's manic. And all of a sudden, we're doing our thing. Like, oh, wait, Beckham's coming. I'm like, well, one second, you haven't prepped me for this. What do you mean Beckham's coming? And he just walks in. And then he, all the problems with ears. I couldn't really hear what he was saying. He couldn't hear what I was saying. I was like, this is crazy, but we're going to get through it. And nobody at home is going to know. And then when I watched it back, I was like, okay, I called him sir too many times.
No,
but I was just far too excited. I got too excited. Like, David Beckham and Ariel Oladipo in the same frame. Everyone wanted it. You got it. There you go. Have it.
First time chatting with him?
First time him chatting with me.
Yeah. No, you're right.
That's what you meant.
Messi, Beckham, you're doing it all over there, presenting the Club World Cup. I'm loving it. And I'm in particular loving how close all the matches are. I mean, that Bayern Munich versus Auckland City slobber knocker was something to behold. 10-0. I kind of actually love that. Here's some of the highlights here. Take us through this, Ade. Walk us through these highlights.
I will say this. Bayern Munich are one of the biggest clubs ever in world football. Auckland City, to everyone watching this at home that don't know, are part-time footballers. I.e., these guys have real jobs. But I think the goalkeeper was saying that he had to take time off work to play in this tournament. They're on, I kid you not, $90 a week in per diems. That's what they were on. This is literally, it's almost like an FA Cup game when you get a non-league football side against a giant. And Bayern Munich didn't want to hold back, did they? It's like, okay, this is now 6 and 7. Can we stop? They're like, no. We want more. So clearly they're on goal bonuses as well.
But
the biggest takeaway from this is that, and there you go, Thomas Muller. The biggest takeaway from all of this
is that Bayern Munich scored 10 and Harry Kane didn't score any.
Yeah.
That's the biggest takeaway. That's the biggest story. But yeah, I mean, you get those games, don't you? But it was quite embarrassing.
It was amazing. And you know what? I saw a lot of people in the comments actually giving the Auckland City guys a lot of love, saying like, hey, you didn't give up. You're obviously playing against Giants. Actually, when I saw who scored and I didn't see Kane among the scores, I was like, oh, I guess he didn't play. And there he was. He did play. So that's unbelievable. What's it been like, though? I'm into it. I love a good summer football tournament. It's part of a tradition. This is a year that wouldn't have a big one on the men's side or women's side. They're revamping the whole thing. It's in America, which is great. Had a few friends go to the first match at MetLife a couple of days ago. What's it been like being a part of it for DAZN?
It's been fantastic. Honestly, I mean, you know how much I love football, and obviously it's the same for you, right? I mean, you've really got into football in the last few years as well. But I think it's a massive thing. It's a global sport. I think when football first came to America via properly anyway, the 1994 World Cup, it was still very alien. And I still have pictures of Diana Ross missing the penalty kick to open the tournament. It's a different kind of thing now in America. Now everyone knows football. Everyone knows not just who Messi is, but who the other stars of world football are. And we have 32 teams that ordinarily wouldn't really play each other. Like you would never get Auckland FC versus Bayern Munich. And yes, you are going to get some fractions. But I do think once we kind of get to the last 16, we're going to see the big boys, if you like, play each other. And I think these games are going to be fascinating. My question was, how serious are these clubs taking it? I think you can see by the squads they've sent out and the starting 11 for the first games. Bayern Munich basically put out their best 11, even though they're playing a part-time side. That shows how serious a lot of these guys are taking it. So, I mean, there are no tired legs. There's a lot of money involved in this tournament for all of these teams. So I think everyone's taking it seriously. The first game I did, Inter Miami versus Al Ahly, there was 60,000 there. Bayern Munich's game against Auckland, 80,000.
Wow.
So I know there'll be a lot of accusations. No one's taking it seriously. It's nonsense. Well, I guess those two attendances will tell you the completely different story. So I think it's fantastic. I think the South American teams are going to cause a few problems because they're so used to the heat, the weather. And traditionally, they've always taken the Club World Cup very seriously, whereas maybe the Europeans haven't. But with the money on offer now, I think everyone's taking it seriously.
Are you allowed to make a pick?
I will make a pick if you want me to.
Oh, yeah, please. Who's winning?
PSG.
PSG, interesting.
PSG, the current European champions. I just think they're on a roll. They played Atletico Madrid the other day, which was supposed to be kind of not a 50-50 game, but a close game, and they destroyed them. They absolutely battered them. So if PSG's players are on it, I think they're just almost too good to stop right now. I think they're the best team in world football. They've got this perfect blend of youth and experience and a really good manager. And Luis Enrique is probably the best manager in the world. So if they really want it, and I believe they do, I think they're going to be very difficult to stop.
You didn't ask me, but my pick is the Seattle Sounders. I think that they
of course,
are formidable. Yes, I think they're going to do great. No, I think Real Madrid. I think Real Madrid reminds everyone, hey, we're still the Galacticos, I do believe it's called.
Look at you, Ariel. Your football knowledge. I mean, why are you not working on the Club World Cup, Ariel?
I didn't get the call.
What are they doing?
I didn't get the call.
They dropped the ball. They have dropped the ball. You know what? I would say Real Madrid as well, but Trent left Liverpool, and I'm still hurt by this. Yeah. So I just can't cheer them. That's it. My love for Real Madrid is done now forever. It's done.
El Trent, the Spanish-speaking. I mean, oh my God, it was unbelievable. I love that. Let's talk about the fighting. Let's go back to New York on Saturday. What about our guy Richardson Hitchens? There was a lot of talk leading up to the fight, and Kambosos does this. He's not quite Big Baby Miller, who I say talks such a big game, but doesn't, I think, back it up. Kambosos does a great job of promoting, but perhaps he's on the back nine of the career at this point. Hitchens is too young, too good at this point, and he proved his point. A beautiful body shot to end the affair in the 8th round. I was really impressed, especially with all the talk. He comes off the big win over Paro. He's now back home. He's next door to the Garden. This is your opportunity to tell the world, all right, I could be the future face of American boxing, as he is saying himself. I was impressed. Were you?
Yeah, very. And it was perfect matchmaking because, as you say, Kambosos is on the back nine. He's not a 140-pounder, but he's got that story of Teofimo Lopez. So Match from DAZN were very smart, right? They kept on playing that fight in the lead up to this, just to remind people that he could do this, but that Kambosos is in the past. But what Kambosos does really well, and I like your point. I mean, he does talk the talk, but he fights as well. He walks the walk. He fights a lot of people, and he'll give you good rounds at this stage of his career. But ultimately, he's in there against someone that, as you say, is far too fresh, and has now got tape on Kambosos as well. Kambosos isn't a surprise to anyone like he was against Teofimo. We've now seen him against Devin Haney. We've seen him against Loma. We've seen him against Maxi Hughes. So you know how to beat him now. And I think Hitchens just showed that. I don't want to say he's the future of 140 pounds, but he's definitely now one of the top 3 or top 4. He's fantastic. And there's now fights to be made. There is no excuse now for Hitchens not to fight one of the top dogs next, be it Teofimo Lopez, be it Devin Haney, maybe even a jump to 147 because he's very big at the weight. But I'm happy for him because there was a lot of talk about tickets not selling. I think Kambosos said this. And then right towards the end, there's always that kind of rush of tickets. And it was nearly a sellout. So he's getting the fan base. And what he needed wasn't just a good performance. He needed a stoppage. And he got the stoppage. And that's what fight fans unfortunately want nowadays. I think Turkey alluded to it, didn't he? He said, no more running around. We want to see stoppages. And he got the stoppage. So it was almost like the perfect night out for him.
I don't think that's unfortunate. I think people always want stoppages. They always want knockouts. It always helps propel your career. And not only was the action great, but his post-fight interview was great as well. We played it at the top of the show. I mean, the call-out of Devin Haney was hilarious. Haney responds, but him dropping that he was going to head into free agency really seemed to irk Eddie Hearn. I mean, Eddie Hearn seemed like very disrespected by it. And I understand to a degree where he's coming from, where Hearn is coming from. They have done a lot for Hitchens. They really have put him in some big spots, including that Paro fight and this fight as well. You know, it's part of the game. We had Clarissa in studio talking about how she's going to be a free agent after her fight on July 26th. And I'm sure Dmitry Salita didn't like that as well. But it was interesting to see just how bothered Eddie Hearn was. Were you surprised by that?
Well, how bothered Eddie was, or by Hitchens saying he was a free agent?
No, I was. Hitchens free. Everyone's a free agent, but Eddie seemed very disrespected by the fact that Hitchens went on the microphone in that moment to say, "I'm heading into free agency." That's what he said. It did
surprise me.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it surprised me, and I'm not surprised by Eddie's reaction. Like, I've obviously worked with Eddie now for 4 or 5 years, so I kind of know the person Eddie is, and I to a point, I think Eddie's got right to be aggrieved by it. You know, you ask a lot of people who Hitchens was prior to his last couple of fights, and a few people would have scratched their heads. Those that know, right? Those hardcore boxing fans would have known who Hitchens was. But the idea was to take him from a hardcore boxing fan base to a casual boxing fan base. And I think we can say and agree that Eddie's done a good job with him.
Great job.
The Liam Paro headline. Yeah, the Liam Paro headline in Puerto Rico. I'm guessing Eddie made a big loss on that, right? I mean, it was pretty much empty, right? But he got him his world title. Then he gets him a world title defense against a guy that can sell the fight in Kambosos in his hometown. So if I'm Eddie, I'm like, 1 second, I've delivered. Like, I've done my part. You know, we've both done our parts, but I've done my part as a promoter because I've kind of taken you from a point of view where no one really knew you to the point where everyone knows you now, because every time I speak, I tell people how good you are. So if I'm Eddie, you kind of want a little bit of loyalty. I know that doesn't really exist in boxing, but if you're Eddie, you've got a right to kind of say, well, what's going on here? But I think Eddie's starting to realize that the American boxers are very different from the UK fighters, UK boxers. UK boxers have this kind of loyalty to Eddie where they'll sign 8, 9 fight deals. The American boxers, Edgar Berlanga, Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, it's either 2 fight deals or fight by fight deals. And I don't think Eddie's used to that yet. He's expecting a bit more loyalty to kind of grow in their brand and basically giving them what they asked for. And then by doing that, he's thinking, okay, that's it now. You're mine for a couple more years. But these guys are like, no, free agents, which does surprise me.
Shakur Stevenson as well, right? 2-fight deal with him, and now it seems like they're splitting up after this fight on July 12th. If you had to choose between Haney or Lopez for Hitchens next, what do you like better? And the Haney fight, as he tweeted, he would want it at 47. Which do you prefer?
Lopez.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, Lopez. Lopez is the 140 guy.
Yeah.
Lopez is the 140 guy who's got a belt. Richardson Hitchens has got a belt. Let's get a unification fight. Go on. Let's do that. I think that's the more exciting fight as well. I think both of those guys will stand and trade. I think it's a really good fight. I mean, look, ultimately it's 1A, 1B. I'm not mad at Haney either, but I think I like the Richardson Hitchens fight as well. It's weird where this Haney beef, hatred has come from, because I've always thought there was an issue between Hitchens and Teofimo Lopez. Now all of a sudden Haney's there. I don't know if Hitchens views Devin Haney as a bigger money fight, maybe. I'm not quite sure. But I think I prefer Teo versus Hitchens.
Yeah, you see, there's Devin's reaction right after the call-out, so he was clearly watching, or at least someone told him about it. But yes, I'd like to see him continue at 140 pounds. Andy Cruz looked good once again. And I was wondering, because he was fighting in New York, which is where we recently saw Keyshawn Davis fight, is it time to finally try to make that fight, or are we further away from that fight now because of what happened to Keyshawn Davis a couple of weeks ago in Virginia?
No, I think boxing fans forgive and forget. He missed weight. He's not going to be the first person. I think he knows he done wrong. The whole boxing world, the whole boxing community has said he's done wrong. I think it's time just to kind of make amends. And the best thing for Keyshawn Davis, and I've always said this for fighters that maybe look like they've got outside noise, is get in the ring. That's ultimately the best place for them. Get in the fight camp, get in the ring, and do what you do best. And as much as Keyshawn Davis irked me by what he did by not making weight, I still think he's one of the best fighters in the world. I still think he's a top pound for pounder in the next 12 to 18 months. And he has a big itch to scratch. And that itch is Andy Cruz, who's beat him numerous times in the amateurs. I think it's a fight you make now, because I do think Keyshawn's growing out of the weight class. And I'm not just saying that because he missed weight. I've always said that I think Keyshawn's got the frame to go to 140 or 147, whereas I think Andy Cruz looks like a 135 guy. So if I'm Eddie, I'm trying to make it now before Keyshawn gets a bit too big, and then it's almost an impossible fight. Like the kind of fights we've missed with Teofimo Lopez, for example, versus a Gervonta Davis, which is never going to happen. Make the fight now whilst they're still around the same weight class, and let's get a big fight on. That's a big, big fight. Very big fight. And let's be honest, I mean, if you can do it in the next 12 months, it's a unification fight as well.
Yeah. By the way, there were a lot of great performances on this card. Shout out to Zaquin Moses, who's a cousin of Shakur Stevenson. Also, I do want to give a shout out to Taramana. I love this guy.
Hey.
This dude he's unbelievable, right? I mean, he's just he's a sight to behold.
He's interesting because I've met him a few times when we've spoken. I've met him at the airport. When I say he's the nicest guy you could meet, very reminiscent of a Joseph Parker type nice. And we know how much you like Joseph Parker.
Yes.
But when he steps through the ropes, there's a switch. And then he does this after the fights.
Yeah.
So literally, he can only be mean in between the ref saying fight and the bell going, and then he just becomes nice again. But he's a big heavyweight. Eddie wanted to kind of plant that seed in America so they can know who he is early, which I think's smart because he's still on what I think that's his 5th or 6th fight, or maybe even less than that. So I think it's smart what Eddie's doing. Eddie's got a few sort of heavyweights from down under coming through. I think we saw that against Fabio Wardley. So Eddie's got them. Justice Hooney is what who I'm referring to. So Eddie's building that nice stable in Australia for something really big there, I think. I mean, we've had big fights there, but I almost feel like there's going to be this blockbuster stadium fight soon of all the talents he's got. But yeah, look out for that guy because I think he's a very, very big threat in the next sort of 2 years in the heavyweight division.
Improved to 8-0, Taramana.
There you go. Okay.
Shout out to the big man. Let's talk about some other news and notes. And I think, speaking of Eddie Hearn, one of the big ones since we last spoke is the revelation that Jaron Boots Ennis is, in fact, finally going to move up to 154. It's something that he's talked about for a minute or two, but it sounds like he's finally going to do it. If you were the matchmaker, who does Boots Ennis fight at 154 pounds in his next fight?
You know who I'm going to say. It's got to be Virgil Ortiz. I mean, it has to be Virgil Ortiz. I followed their journey for nearly 2 years. They were supposed to fight at 147. The rumors about them fighting at 147 were never going away. And now all of a sudden, they're both at 154. And I like it because Boots Ennis, he's a big 147. But ultimately, once you jump another weight class, you realize you're just the same size. Well, you get the chance to test the waters against a guy that's your size. Virgil is the same size as Boots. In fact, I'll say Boots is bigger than Virgil. I think it's a fantastic fight for both. It's a massive fight as well. Honestly, it's an enormous fight in the 154-pound division. I think that's the easiest fight to make. Virgil, and I know for a fact, will take that fight in a heartbeat. I've spoken to Virgil about it so many times. For me, all the weight and pressure is on Boots. Do you want to test the waters first and fight a top 15 guy? Or, as I think you should, as an unbeaten world champion coming from weight class below, you take on the big dogs immediately. No easy goes here. Take on one of the big dogs immediately. And Virgil Ortiz, for me, is a top 3 154-pounder. And let's see what you're made of, Boots. I'm not trying to say I think Virgil beats him, but I think it's a 50-50 scrap between two very good fighters. And that's what we want in boxing. I don't want to see him have a walkover. I don't want to see him take on someone that's been beaten a few times just to kind of see how he feels. No. You're a big dog. Call out the big dogs and let's see two big dogs go at it.
Well, what I like about this is that his team said essentially that he's underperforming because of the weight cut. And I thought he looked very good against Stanionis. I thought it was his best performance of maybe his last 2 or 3 fights. Certainly the best since he linked up with Matchroom. But if he's going to be healthier now, if he's going to be bigger, stronger at 154 pounds, and we know how good he is, we know how talented he is. By the way, we're talking about the face of American boxing. It could still be him. I asked Salita that question. He said Terrence Crawford, fair play. That's probably the guy he is fighting in front of a lot of people in September. But he isn't going to be around for a very long time. And who knows? If Crawford doesn't win that fight and goes back to a more natural 154 pounds, Boots versus Crawford would be a gigantic one down the line, maybe this time next year or something like that. Who knows? I'm not counting, my chickens before they hatch here, but Boots could be that guy. He has what it takes. It just seems like at 147, he's sucked everything out of him. So I love this. I love everything about it, regardless of who he fights next.
Yeah, and the only issue with it being Virgil, and so I kind of take back all that screaming, it has to be Virgil, is that Virgil, I thought Boots needs an antagonizer. Like the way Hitchens had Kambosos. So Hitchens almost didn't have to say anything. Although he did speak, he's got Kambosos to do all the speaking for him. Boots doesn't talk. I mean, for as good as Boots is in the ring, outside the ring, you're not getting much from Boots. You've had him on your show before, Ariel. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Tough.
You almost need someone. It's tough. It's a tough ask. He needs someone that will talk and do all the selling, and then Boots goes in and looks electric, and by default, he almost takes their fan base. There isn't really that guy at 154. That's why he's almost going to have to go in there and become that guy. Now, sometimes you've got to drag these guys and say, okay, Boots, if you want to be the superstar that we think you can be, doing it in the ring maybe isn't enough. Maybe you got to start to show your personality outside the ring a little bit. But there are great fights from a 154. So even if it's not Virgil, there's Madrimov, there's Boychuk, there's Xander Zayas, even before we get to the champions. So there are so many good fights out there before we even get to the belt holders. So no excuse for Boots and Eddie to say, oh, it's this guy who we don't know. No, we don't want that. We don't want that anymore. We want big names. He's not 21, 22. You're a grown man, an unbeaten champion, a pound for pounder, big names only.
A couple of weeks ago, actually more like a couple of months ago, I should say. Remember when we had Deontay Wilder on the program? And, it was a little bit chaotic because he was in his car and there was a lot going on, but it was great to get some sort of insight, some sort of window into his soul right now. Well, I actually spoke to him yesterday, Ade, and his return fight is coming up. It's in less than 2 weeks' time. It's on the 27th of June. And, man, this was a journey. I mean, some of the answers were like 8-9 minutes long. Deontay, very passionate, very thoughtful, and could take you to some deep and dark places. Just want to play you a very quick clip from this and get your reaction. And while you're watching this, maybe ponder what you want out of Deontay Wilder, because he told me that he already has something lined up. He didn't want to say what it was, but it was something overseas. And the only thing I could think about is an Anthony Joshua fight. I don't know if that's the one. Obviously, he has to win on the 27th of June to get to that fight. But here's the quick clip, and then we'll react. When you said a few years back that, I remember when you said this, and I actually on my show, I'd never met you before, but I was sort of defending you because I remember when you said that you wanted to catch a body, when you wanted a body on your resume. And I was like, everyone came after you for saying that. You shouldn't say that if you're a boxer. This is not the right thing to say. And I understood where you were coming from. This is the same thing we say, I want to go out there and knock out my opponent. I want to kill my opponent. I didn't take it literally, but a lot of people did. And I'm only asking that because I'm wondering, does that same guy exist? Do you want that guy to exist anymore, or are you a different fighter than the one who said that?
Look, nothing that I say that I don't regret saying. I don't take it back. People got to understand the structure of the business that I'm in. This is not, this is not no sport that we play. You can't put play on boxing because it's not a sport. Now, to say boxing is a sport, it's a masking agent to cover up what the real thing. This is a fucking gladiator sport. You got to have a heart of a lion. This is a 1%. That's why you don't see many people in this business, because they won't do it. They're scared to do it. That's why you had to take your hat off for every fighter that step inside that ring, over those ropes or under those ropes, because they're the 1% that'll get in there, that'll do it. Many people on the outside can talk. They can say many things or whatever they want. But if I say something and you don't agree with it, if I say I want to kill him and all that, then you just as good as me, because your ass paying to see it happen. Yeah. Because you don't understand what we have to do, what we have to provide mentally, physically, emotionally. And as you see all my beautiful children that come out, but at certain points of the time, I had to get in the ring. I had to fight. I don't know if I'm gonna get out of this motherfucker when I step in it. That's facts. Over 13 fighter dies a year, and it's probably up more than that. That's just only being reported. How many other athlete dies in their sport? Because in boxing, we don't play shit. We ain't practicing for nothing. We're training. We're training to kill. And you got to understand the concept.
So that's just like 1/5 of the answer, Ade. But it was intense stuff. And what was I thought he was going to say, that guy's not here. I'm a different guy. He doesn't walk it back. You remember that whole controversy, right? I want a body on my resume. He's in Gareth A. Davies' face. The question is, though, can that guy return? Is it possible at 39 for him to be here? Or is that just all talk, and we're about to find out that he's the same guy who got knocked out by Zhilei Zhang last year?
I believe he thinks it can come back. I mean, I've covered these last couple of fights. I've sat down with him, and that version of Deontay Wilder that you just showed me there had vanished. And it was more of a mellow and relaxed, and I'm happy to be here. And I was like, okay, well, 1 second. You're going to need to kind of bring the bronze bomber back. So I almost feel like there's two characters. There is the Deontay Wilder, the family man, looks after his kids, his family, etc. But then there's this version of Deontay that knows in order to get the job done, he needs to switch that guy back up again. I don't know if at 39 and suffering the defeats he's had that he can come back, but I think he's got enough to get the job done in a couple of weeks' time. But it's not that level we're talking about. We're talking about the next level up or next several levels up. And I just don't know if that guy can do it anymore. He's taken quite a bit of punishment. Those Tyson Fury fights were punishing. I watched one back the other day, the second one, when he got stopped and, the towel came in. And I remember thinking, that's a lot of punishment for a guy that's nearly 3 stone heavier than him. So look, I hope he can, because he's a character. I mean, you speak to Deontay Wilder, it's almost like you're speaking to one of those American pastors. He offers a lot. But if I'm honest, I'd rather see him not fight again. But I'll tune in. I'll tune in to watch him fight. But I think the best Deontay Wilder, and this is nothing radical to say, but the best Deontay Wilder's sort of maybe nearly a decade in the past, let alone a few years in the past. So I'm not quite sure.
One of the themes of this year has been, there's a big fight coming up if this guy just gets by this upcoming not-so-big fight. And for some reason, I could just feel something happening, right? Friday night, Wichita, Kansas, Tyrell Herndon. Oh, yeah, maybe there's finally an AJ fight at the other side of the rainbow, or I don't know, a Bacoli, or God knows who he's talking about, an overseas fight is what he said. And then, he slips. I don't know. It just feels like that's been the theme this year in boxing, and so let's see what it all translates into. But it was interesting to see that old version of him come back. Hey, speaking of coming back, we talked a couple of weeks ago about Jaime Munguia's B sample. We know after the Bruno Saras fight that the A sample revealed PEDs in his system. Well, the Ring magazine and Mike Coppinger in particular is reporting that the B sample has come back and confirmed the A sample result, and it is for the it's a tough word here, exogenous origin of testosterone, synthetic testosterone. Is that the way to pronounce it? Exogenous? Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think exogenous, but we know it's a performance enhancing drug regardless of the pronunciation. And now look, we like we always do with boxing, we wait to see what the punishment's going to be for the crime.
Right.
And there'll be some boxing fans that expect nothing, 6 months, 12 months, and there'll be some like myself that's hoping for something a bit more severe. 4-year, a lifetime ban. And I know that might sound strong, but I've said this for a long time. Boxing needs to make an example of someone. It's almost becoming quite comical now where these high-profile boxers, so the biggest names in the sport that have tested positive for whatever PED in their system are getting 12 months, and it's just not enough. There's no deterrent. Like 12 months is not enough because these boxers only fight once or twice a year. So what's 12 months? You're missing out on a year. He still gets paid for his fight. He could have damaged Bruno Saras. Like what's Bruno Saras's want here? Like what does he get? And that's why when everyone was laughing at Devin Haney for trying to sue Ryan Garcia, like, why are you laughing? These boxers have almost got to take it upon themselves to do something because they can't trust the athletic commission to do it for them. So I wait to see. I don't even know who was looking after that fight. When I've gone to Saudi, sometimes the British Boxing Board of Control looked after the fights.
This is the British
well,
Boxing
let's see
Board.
what the British Boxing Board of Control do here then. Because
obviously they could overturn it to a no contest, but that could be the least of his problems, right? I mean, there's suspensions and fines. He has just literally a minute ago, I just got this in my my inbox. He has released a statement. Jaime Munguia has, quote, "I have spent my entire career and life doing things the right way, and this is no exception. I love boxing, and I'm the first one who wants to clear everything up because boxing is my life. I can't wait to get back in the ring. We're going to prove that we never disrespected the sport, my opponents, or misled the fans." This is from Team Munguia. Now, Jaime remains unwavering in his commitment to clean competition, and we will continue to work closely with experts and relevant authorities to reach full clarity. We will provide updates as new information becomes available. In the meantime, we thank you for your continued support. They've also said, at this stage, we are still awaiting clarification from specialists regarding the specific levels detected in the samples. As the next step, our team is submitting a list of all supplements and products Jaime used to a WADA-accredited laboratory for testing. This is critical in helping determine how the substance may have entered a system and ensuring the integrity of the review. So there you have it. Tough times for Jaime Munguia, especially coming off the shocking loss. And as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, the notion that he came off this shocking loss to a relatively unknown fighter named Bruno Saras and thought, okay, I need to do something to make sure this doesn't happen again, isn't the craziest thought. It is certainly not the craziest thought.
No. And by the way, you can understand how, and first and foremost, before I, yes, I'm a broadcaster now, and yes, I cover the sport of boxing, but first and foremost, I'm a fan. And as a fan, I've seen too many boxers test positive for performance-enhancing drugs and then see a lawyer-written statement as if to say, I don't know what happened. And we've been through it too many times. And of all those times a lawyer wrote a statement, nothing's come out of it. It's not like, oh, they've proven somehow that this got into their system. Nothing. And it's not just boxing. I mean, my second love is athletics. Same thing. So I don't believe anyone anymore. If you've tested positive, there are too many athletes that do it clean for me to believe you when you've been caught. So no, I'm just not accepting it anymore from any of these boxers. Something needs to happen, because I said, and look, maybe I'm wrong because, you cover MMA as well, which is a dangerous sport, but I've always said I think boxing's the most dangerous sport in the world. The most dangerous. So when someone comes into the ring fully loaded with performance-enhancing substances in their system, I'm out. Check me out. So no, I don't believe it at all.
In addition to all the great action as far as the Club World Cup going on right now on DAZN, every single match on DAZN. It's another busy schedule coming up this weekend, Ade. We've got BKFC in Fort Worth, Texas. Hey, look at this.
Oh,
Andre Arlovsky against Josh Copeland. Yes.
My dude.
Yes.
Oh, God, this is going to be so violent. Oh, this is going to be one of the ones where you watch with your hand like that over your face.
Yeah, Andre Arlovsky, Huggy Bear.
Oh.
BKFC 76 in Fort Worth, Texas. Jessica Ai, former UFC fighter, also making her BKFC debut. And yeah, I mean, it's usually good for 5 or 6 vicious and brutal knockouts. That's Saturday afternoon here in the United States. We have the return of one of the brightest young stars coming up in the UK scene, Galal Yafai, who's coming off that great win over Sonny Edwards just a few months back. This is a big one. Now, are you working this card as well?
I'm not, unfortunately. I begged to do it. I begged. They're like, Ade, well, you've got to do the club walk. I was like, I don't need sleep. Yeah. I can do this. Let me go, please. I want to watch your fight, because Yafai, I think, is a special talent, Olympic gold medalist, on the cusp of becoming, I think, a genuine superstar. He really should have after meeting Sonny Edwards, but I feel like they didn't really capitalize on that beating of Sonny.
Why not?
Because I felt like it was a case of Sonny was past his best, as opposed to Galal being just that good. When you beat someone and they retire, it's like, it was at the end anyway.
Okay.
And I don't think it was that. I just think Galal was just so special. So I think they're just trying to maybe get Galal into something really good over in America in the next 12 months. But obviously this coming up on the weekend is going to be a tough test. But yeah, very upset that they didn't think Ade Oladipo was capable of doing football and then boxing. I mean, what's going on? I did back-to-back football, then I do this show. Like, why do they feel like I can't do it?
Yeah,
light work.
Are you doing more games later on today, or are you done?
No, I'm going home to sleep. I'm done.
Because there are more games, right?
there's games going on in like an hour. There's like games going on in an hour's
So
time.
who does those?
Okay. Olivia Bazaglo. They got Christian Vieri. He used to play for Inter Milan. He was here.
Of course.
I was with in Miami, just chilling.
Love Olivia.
Leanne Sanderson. He plays for Arsenal, England.
NBD. Must be nice. Must be nice. I mean, I'm here in the United States. No one called me. I'm still waiting for the phone call. We'll see. Maybe as they get,
they're saving it for the semi-final and final in New York.
Makes sense.
That's what I've been told. Yeah.
Makes sense. Well, shout out to Glalia Fai and shout out to you. You're doing tremendous work, but shout out to everyone's favorite segment of the week. It is time for our parting shot, and Ade, this time...
Wait. Stop. No, stop.
What?
Stop. If this isn't a BKFC or bare knuckle knockout one...
Well, they don't have one every weekend.
Then our show's done and I'm going to close my laptop. Sorry. I saw one on... It was the most violent knockout, and I think you even put it on your uncrowned Instagram page. I saw it. If it's not that, then... this is getting silly.
I have tremendous news for you because you are getting good at all of this. Of course, it is not that. It is my good friend, the pride of Albania, Adam Maka, making his pro debut on Saturday. What do you think of Adam Maka in studio last week? Telling me, Ade, that he could beat Naoya Inoue right now. 18 years young.
I love the energy.
He said, right now, give me Inoue. Well, he's 1-0 as a pro. He's another member of the Sam Jones stable, a very prestigious stable, and he wins in his pro debut at the theater right next door to Madison Square Garden. Look, he was very excited. I think some people were like, I wasn't all that impressed. He was a little sloppy, this, that. 18 years old, give the guy a break. He gets the stoppage. He's well on his way. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, 18 years old. By the way, this is the wrong parting shot, but it's okay. 18 years old, making his debut. The small arena, MSG. I mean, you got to love it. And he came into your show, he was talking the talk. And what made me laugh is you were trying to help him. You're like, would you fight Inoue?
Yeah.
I see what you were trying to do. Like, no, I'll beat Inoue. And I was like, you were like, what? No, like, I'm trying to help you here. Would you fight him?
Same guy?
You know about his brother?
Yeah.
Or his cousin? No, the Inoue. But look, good luck to him, man. I mean, it's the start of a journey. And the problem is Sam Jones now has got a problem because when you're used to fighting and big shows like that and coming onto the Ariel Helwani show, and what's Sam going to do next? I mean, you can't put him in a small arena at York.
You can't go to York Hall. That's right. You can't go to the OVO.
No chance. No, you got to be like the O2 Arena or whatever. It's got to be Vegas, T-Mobile,
the
whatever.
Copper Box. You can't go to the Copper Box.
Yeah. No. What? He'll turn it down.
Yeah. No,
so Sam's got a problem, but good luck to him. Well done. I like seeing guys on their sort of first steps on the ladder.
Yeah, and I like the confidence, but with that confidence comes a massive bullseye, right? You talk that talk and you slip in your fifth fight or something like that, and everyone's like, no good. But I like it, and I thought it was an apropos parting shot. I'm loving the Club World Cup, my friend. My kids and I are watching it. We are genuinely enjoying it. It's fun to see who's taking it seriously, who's not, and I think it's going to get better. And I love that it's happening here in America because the times, the slots are great. The schedule is fantastic for us, not so much for you guys. And it's great to see DAZN front and center. And it's great to see you, most importantly, front and center throughout it all. So keep up the great work. Thank you for gracing us with your presence on your own show. We appreciate you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Frank. Thank you. I was like going slowly, so that was
come
sort
on, Frank.
of
Get there, Frank. Get there. Come on,
Frank. You know we don't get paid by the hour.
Show number what? 20?
31. 31. But who's counting?
What?
Yeah, 31. How about that?
Wow,
crazy, right?
Man. Well, I've not been paid the invoice for the last 6, so I have to just double check that. I need to double check that.
Time flies. Time flies. You working tomorrow? You're doing the games tomorrow?
Of course I am.
Who do we have on the spot right now? Who's playing?
I'm not doing tomorrow. I'm doing Thursday.
Okay. Close enough. Day off. You deserve it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ade. Appreciate you. Good luck the rest of the way. Of course, we'll talk to you next week. And of course, thank you very much to the great Dmitry Salita. Appreciate his time as well. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to all of them. Back next week. Appreciate you all. Enjoy the fights.